if you want to go ahead and take it away.
Yeah. So, I mean, we went to the rally. Following Q is kind of like watching a movie. I felt all along that, hey, this seems like it might be real, but, you never know for sure, especially in the beginning. As time has gone on, you're more and more certain your feelings towards Q. But, it's like watching a movie. I didn't care if it was real or not. It was entertaining. It felt real. And, it was all good. There was nothing bad that I saw in following Q. But it's like watching a movie and then all of a sudden you are watching the movie and you're in the movie. I never expected to be, part of Q's post the night that I wore that T-shirt. And after that happened, I just, people wanted to know about that event and the pointing, and I came on, the show and talked about it. But I kind of thought that was it. And then I got the opportunity to go see him again. So we went up to North Dakota to see him, and I took another one of my daughters who couldn't go the first time. And that time I decided I didn't want to really be in a spot where I could be seen as much as I wanted to just be in front and see the president. And this is on my Twitter page, but there's a point in his speech where he's talking about immigration, where he's kind of scanning the audience and he sees me. He looks away and he does a double take and he points right at me. I'm right in the front row, right next to the stage. And that to me was like, okay, well, he pointed the first time, but was that because I said best president ever? And then this time he pointed at me again. Now, is that because I'm wearing the same Q shirt? For everyone else, it was like, wow, he's basically pointing to the Q shirt to acknowledge Q. And, for me, I don't know. Is that what it really was? Was it because I said best president ever? I didn't know. But that second time, it seemed like, okay, he's really acknowledging me now. But nobody knew that unless they were standing right next to me on the stage. That wasn't really on TV or anything.
But I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt what you were saying already.
No, it's okay.
But I did want to tie that into what the Q posts I just want to check 5x5 with the chat to make sure I'm coming in okay. But I also wanted to the Q posts. You were in Q posts during this time, right?
Yeah, there were 2 Q posts that night, acknowledging the night in Duluth, acknowledging that the picture of Trump pointing at my Q shirt, and then he actually pulled up my Twitter page with the second post. So that was 2 in that night. And then we went to the North Dakota rally. I saw him, look at me and point at me, and my daughter's right with me, and the people around me, like, he was looking right at you and pointing at you and gave you a thumbs up. I'm like, oh my God, that's so crazy. So I posted that on my Twitter page. And when I posted that on my Twitter page, Q then posted that, and it said something like, we see you VIP, with again linking my Twitter page. And that was a Q plus post. So that meant more to me than the first time. It felt more like, okay, they really are acknowledging my Q shirt at that point.
And so now you're freaking out, right?
Well, I think it was kind of freaking out the whole time. But, after that, I kind of thought it was over. And I just go back to, I read 8chan all the time. I follow Praying Medic and a few other people on YouTube. I read some Twitter, but that's about it. I don't really post or get that involved. I let the other Anons do the research, and I just read it.
I am the same.
But then I got an announcement that he was coming to Rochester, which is actually closer than any of the other locations I went to. And I'm like, I got to go to this. I got to go to this one. I couldn't get anyone to go with me. It was just me. And, there's a long story on how I actually got to take a photo with him. But, I found out that I had the opportunity to take a photo with him and, maybe have a minute or two with him. And that's when I kind of came up with a crazy idea to, all right, I'm going to ask him if Q is real, see what he says.
Okay. So now I have the Praying Medic page up that has your actually your post and what you said and a picture of you in your shirt. So, but I'd like to hear in your own words So you went up to you got to meet the POTUS, and what did you say to him?
Well, I'm going to back up just a little bit because there's some confusion. Why is the picture with POTUS? I have a suit and a white collar shirt on, and then in the audience I'm wearing the Q shirt. So I'd heard you were not going to you couldn't get into the rally with a Q shirt on. So, and I had the neon green Q shirt that you're showing on the page there. I made that one up myself. So it was a big Q in green on a black shirt, and it says "Best President Ever."
Right. Now, compared to the first rally, there was no Q shirts. Then the Q shirts started exploding everywhere at the rallies, right? And then it got put on the lockdown, right?
Well, Q has said that the reason why is before every rally, the Secret Service gets threats that someone with a Q shirt is going to, do something bad at a rally.
Right.
And so that's why Q is explaining why they're not going to let people in. I got the impression that once the media went crazy with a 4 a.m. drop where all of the media did the stories on Q in one day. I don't know if you remember that day.
I do.
But it basically spun the story of Q. It was very inaccurate and painted a really bad picture of what the Q movement was. And I think because of that, President Trump or his staff or someone decided, okay, having Q shirts all over the audience isn't painting a good picture for the campaign. So
I agree. And okay, go ahead, keep going. I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought.
So I think that's why that they said no more Q shirts.
And after that, if you Googled QAnon, all you found were those news articles, negative news articles.
Yeah.
It's almost like, in a way, Q has brought a lot of people together, a lot of researchers that were doing their own thing. And I live in a very blue state. It's not okay to go around and really say that you are a Trump supporter. But if you follow Q, which is still basically being a Trump supporter, it's okay. Okay, so I don't want to interrupt you too much. So you're at the rally, and you knew you had to cover up your shirt, correct?
Right. So, I have a pass to go to this VIP lounge, get a picture with Trump. Any other time, I'd wear my shirt and risk it and just see what happens. I'd already been to so many rallies. If they told me to leave or whatever, I was okay with that. But this time, it said you need to wear business attire. So I came up with this plan, and the plan was wear my Q shirt underneath, put a white collared shirt on, but I didn't want to wear a tie. It's not all the way buttoned down. It's just partial button down. And then my suit coat, kind of business attire, do the picture. And then after the picture, I would go to a bathroom, take off the white collared shirt, leave my Q shirt on underneath the suit jacket, because I could still kind of cover it up, walk through Secret Service to get to the front of the stage, and then right when he came out, take off my jacket.
And two things that I find interesting about the whole thing that have transpired so far. One is the lady in the pink dress, and we can talk about that in a minute. But the second is they almost bargained with you to give you these VIP passes, right?
Well, they bargained with me for the cost of having my picture with the POTUS. Yeah, the pink dress, that was when they took a picture of me before the rally in Duluth, which was kind of strange.
Right. So this woman in a pink dress, you said, came out, took a photo just of you. She was clearly in charge of a lot of people at that, the press. She was giving orders or whatever, took a picture of you. It was almost like you're kind of the chosen one in a way, which is a good thing. Okay, so now you're at the rally and you're going to meet the POTUS, and you've got to cover up this neon green shirt you have on. I'm going
to back up a little bit.
Okay.
I just kind of told you my plan, and I had 5 of those shirts. And so what I did is I thought, all right, I'm going to test the waters and see if they tell me to take my Q shirt on. So I was layered. I had a Q shirt, a white shirt, another Q shirt, and my suit coat. So when I walked up to the rally, when I was walking through all the people, went to the VIP line, and waiting to get in, I had my Q shirt on. And within a couple of minutes, 2 Secret Service guys came up to me and said, you will not be allowed into the stadium with that shirt on. Okay. So I took the shirt off and I laid it over a fence post because everyone had to walk by that fence post as they were walking in. And, I thought it would be kind of fun for those people to see that shirt. Someone from that rally probably grabbed that shirt. I don't know who has it, but someone out there has one of my shirts. But so at that point, now I'm just wearing the suit coat with a white shirt and the other Q shirt underneath that, which was kind of funny after I took that shirt off, I looked down and you could see the green Q through my white shirt. And so for the next 2 or 3 hours while we were waiting in line, I was constantly nervous that the Secret Service would see the Q shirt through my white shirt. So I was always kind of like turning at a 90-degree angle so they couldn't see it. But anyway, so I got in, went to the VIP lounge. We waited another hour and a half, and then we went to take our pictures. And went up. I noticed that he was spending a little bit of time with everyone, so I thought about asking the Q question, but that takes some boldness. If Q isn't real, if Trump doesn't have anything idea what it is, if he thinks it's a conspiracy theory, right. You're one chance in front of the president of the United States, and that's what you're going to ask.
Yeah. Are you going to take the moment in time?
And there was a bunch of other things that I wanted to ask him about or say to him, but I only had a certain amount of time. So he asked me if I wanted to do like a thumbs up picture or just a regular picture. I said thumbs up. He asked me my name, asked me what I did. We did the thumbs up. Firm. Everyone says he has small hands. Well, I don't have small hands, and his hands were as big as mine. I mean, he's bigger in person than you think he is. He's 6'3". So
wow, that's pretty tall. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 6'3" too, and he looks taller than me in the picture.
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture right now. It looks pretty. There it is, guys. So,
yeah. Now that's a digital picture that was sent to me after they mailed the regular picture. So I have a digital copy of that picture, and I also have the picture that they sent me.
Okay. So you get up there, and what do you say to him?
So we did the thumbs up, and the picture was over, and I just turned to him. I said, "I have a question." He said, "Okay." And then I said, "Is Q real?" And he paused. And it was only a second, but you're looking eye to eye with the president. And at that point, I wasn't nervous at all. But when he paused, I went from not being nervous to being completely nervous, like, oh my gosh, like there's a pause there. And then he just said, "I don't know, maybe." And then he kind of threw his hands out to the side the same way that he did at the rally in Duluth when he said, when I said best president ever, and he said ever. It's the same kind of motion with his hands.
Yep.
And then that was it. And then he paused another second, and then he said, "But I know they're great people." And that was the end of our conversation. So
when you were walking away from right in the immediate minutes after you're walking off the stage, were you thinking, it got validated or it didn't get validated?
Actually, what I was thinking is, he didn't no one was telling me to move on. I could have talked to him longer. But I panicked. I just walked away.
That's true. I would have done the same thing probably.
I'm like, damn it. Why didn't I just talk to him some more? But, right away I'm analyzing it, and, before I asked the question, obviously I knew for a couple of days I was going to meet him.
Yeah.
I thought, I don't know that he can acknowledge it. If they won't let the Q shirts in the audience with a negative press on what Q is to the normies out there, mm-hmm. I don't know that he can acknowledge it to some guys taking a picture with him. But I thought he knew it was fake, if he knew it was a fraud or whatever, he definitely has no reason not to tell me it's fake.
That's true, and he's a pretty straight shooter when it comes to, BS. I in my opinion, I think so. It was a risk, but Q had been kind of pushing someone to ask, right? And you had the perfect opportunity.
Here's the deal, though. I mean, if you were put in that situation, or anyone else out there that's in the chat and watching tonight, think about it, right? Oh, hey, I'm going to ask the question. But what happens if he says, no, it's fake?
Yeah.
I'm the one that has to go and tell every Q supporter that's behind this movement that, hey, sorry, everyone. I talked to President Trump and he told me it's not real. I mean, it's a lot deeper question. The answer is like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if I'm ready for the answer. Like, what am I going to do with it when I get it?
You were weighing all those pros and cons before you even asked him?
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if I was going to ask him or not.
Yep. So something pushed you.
Yeah.
In the hands of God.
Yeah. Well, what was it? I can't remember the guy's name. I've seen him on YouTube. He met with President Trump in the Oval Office and took a picture with him. And he's a Q guy. And some of you in the chat probably know who I'm talking about.
Lionel.
Yeah. So, I thought, I wonder if Lionel brought it up, but he never mentioned that he brought it up or talked about it,
Right. And to POTUS, he's kind of he really can't say type thing, I think. He's got a lot on the line,
So, asking, there's a possibility, because he's a really intelligent person.
Right.
And so, think about it from his perspective. Maybe he doesn't know what Q is. Okay, let's just go there for a second. But he knows about all of the signs, obviously, and he knows that there is this movement out there, but maybe he isn't directly involved. Maybe it's someone within his administration or someone with Q level of clearance that knows a lot, but maybe it isn't him.
Mm-hmm.
And then this random person who's probably a Q fan, right, asks him the question. So he pauses, like, what am I going to say to this guy? I don't want to discourage this guy. So he says, I don't know, maybe. But I know that they're great people because they're all showing up to my rally and they're my supporters.
Right.
So
you got the plausible deniability, like Anon just said from the YouTube chat right there.
Yeah. So that's where I was like, he didn't say no. And he could have very easily said no. So if he's part of Q, that's probably all he could have said. If he wasn't part of Q, he's definitely not against it because he's the plausible deniability and the fact that, he's saying, hey, they're great people. So again, even though he pointed at me a second time and he answered that, I still can't walk away and go 100% I know that he's part of the Q movement.
Right. But if he is part of Q, then he knows that you have been Q-ified. You've been made in Q posts, and here you are up on stage. So it's really a catch-22. But as they say in the Chans anyway, we don't dox Q, right?
No.
But I think it's just a great experience for you. And so you take the picture. Now
I forgot one more thing.
Okay.
When I first met him, he asked me who I was and asked me what I did. And then I said, I was at the Duluth rally and I yelled out to you, best president ever. And you said, ever? And he goes, you're that guy. So I thought, okay, like, now I think I can ask the Q question because he, I think he remembers maybe who I was. Either that or he was just being polite. But so I just left that part out.
He's so smart, though. I think, his intellect is just out of this world. And I think he will remember a face. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So,
okay. I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I mean, he sees a lot of people, but,
That's true.
But, I'm just, for everything that's happened to me, it seems to be a proof for everyone else. And I still, I'm always a little skeptical. For me, there's so many other proofs about just how he talks about, Rod Rosenstein, like months before there's even an issue with Rod Rosenstein. And then months later, before the media even talks about it, it comes out and we're like, well, we've known about that for months. There's things like that to me that are way more proofs that whoever Q is high up somewhere,
I agree. There are a lot of proofs, but this whole string of experiences that you have had, is probably one of the greatest Q proofs that we have right now, in my opinion. Okay, so the chat is dying to hear the rest of the story.
No, it's okay. So when I left there, right, now I've got to, tell everyone, hey, this is what he said. I've just got to say it like I heard it and let everyone else decide, because he didn't say yes and he didn't say no, but it seems like he's, kind of confirming it. So I'm just going to put that out there, right?
Right, and I just want to say one thing. So while all these things are occurring, you're posting this in the chans, which is leaving you open to everything, People will go at you. If you're right, if you're wrong, if you're Jesus, they're going to come at you. You know what I mean? Somebody is. And that's what kind of kills me. It's like you never know who's the good guys around here anymore. But so that must have been risky for you, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's they can be really brutal in there. I mean, I don't go into. I go into 8chan and read all the time, but I don't post very often in there. I post once in a while. Questions. Sometimes I'd work long days and got home and saw some things, and I wanted to I didn't have time to go back and read, all of the posts for the last 24 hours. So I was just kind of asking people, hey, what's going on with this? But usually I just read. But posting there, man, you can get some people really, they're calling me fame fag.
Exactly. You got to have a thick skin.
Yeah, one guy just said, why don't you just, okay, thanks for what you did, but go away and never come back.
I have to say, though, I think that there was an overwhelming amount of people that have supported you, especially once the picture came out. But it was a risk. I'm sure that I know what it's like sometimes. I had one time only the YouTube chat kind of got mad at me about something, and it was like, whoa, So I can understand, the risk you were taking by doing that, but I'm so glad that you did, and so thank you.
In the end, we're all on the same side.
That's true.
And we're all rooting on our president. We all want a better country. We all want a government by the people, for the people, like it was designed to be. We all felt that corruption forever. Like this might be the only president in our lifetime that has the opportunity to take it on, because everyone else has been corrupted. So even though there's a lot on the line. I mean, even though there's a big plan and everything else, there's an anti-plan too. There's people that are working against the plan, and we don't know how it's going to end up.
I agree, and I want to take this opportunity to remind people that next Tuesday is voting day. It is really, I think, in my heart of hearts, I feel like it's one of the most important elections ever. Second to the presidential election, but I agree with you there. It's important. It's a turning point, I think, and I think a lot of people feel that way. So he is. I have a father-in-law. Yep.
And my father-in-law is like Trump. So I have someone in my family that is like him, and what I mean by that is he says what he's thinking.
Exactly.
And if you say what you're thinking 24 hours a day, you're going to probably offend some people. I mean, so I know someone that's like that, but my father-in-law also has a heart of gold.
Right.
He would do anything for almost anyone around him and his family. And he's a really good guy, a really good hearted guy, means well, super successful in business. Yet, a lot of people would call him kind of an asshole. They'd say he's kind of a jerk. But if you get to know him and understand, he just doesn't have a filter. And I feel like Trump is kind of the same way. So I'm way more forgiving of that because I have someone in my family that's just like him.
So am I. My late father was exactly like that. And, he was kind of a hothead. But I appreciate that. I appreciate that sincerity more than other people getting up there and lying to my face and doing something else. And people that are successful in business, they are, they know how to, I don't want to say, cutthroat is not the word I'm looking for, competitive. he likes to be on top, and he's going to say, I totally agree with you. And I can understand. I think that's why so many people relate to him, because they realize he's not the polished up, everything else that we get, every other politician that we get.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think, part of it too is, and this is off the topic a little bit that we're talking about, but just about Trump.
Yep.
Who else could take the attacks every single day? You're talking about the 8chan people attacking me when I, was online. But I mean, the attacks that he gets nonstop, no matter what he does, over and over and over and over and over again.
I agree.
I mean, I don't know how many people are Christians or believe in God out there, but in the Bible, God chose Paul, right, to be one of his apostles. Well, who was Paul? Paul was a tax collector. He was persecuting and killing Christians, but he was chosen for a reason. God knew that he could use him, and I feel like that God chose Trump in that same way. Yeah, he's kind of a Paul in a way. You would never have thought that that's the person that you choose as your leader, but he can handle the daily barrage that he gets. He's not afraid to stand up, and he's actually blown me away in, like, okay, for the trade deals, for example. I would have thought that he would have said, okay, let's negotiate with Mexico and Canada, and then when we're done with that, then we'll go negotiate the European Union, and then when we're done with that, then we'll try to we'll do Japan and South Korea, and then we'll try to tackle China. But no, he goes after all of them at the same time.
He's so funny. And the thing, what, I always say this, I know the YouTube chatters are probably tired of me hearing it, but I used to listen to him years ago when he was on Howard Stern, and that show is a little risque, but what I always took away from that is that he was always very smart. He was usually talking about his business, and because Howard is kind of smart too. And I think that he has totally evolved into this job. He has a big ego, Mr. Donald Trump. And I know he has had to put it in check to do this job, And Rush Limbaugh was saying today, if Trump doesn't tweet his successes, no one would ever know about them because the press isn't covering it. So I think that he has just grown beautifully into his position. And the other side of that is, sometimes I think when he shoots off at the mouth, he knows exactly what he's doing. People just think he's not thinking and just doing it. And I don't find that to be true at all.
Well, my thought with Paul in the Bible is that there's probably people from that era that didn't like him, right? He was a tax collector. There's people that don't like Trump. And for those people that maybe understand that socialism and progressiveness is not the right place for our country, but they don't really like Trump, it's not about liking him. You don't have to like him. I love him, but you don't have to like him. But if you realize what he's doing for our country, when you realize he's only been doing it for a year and 3 quarters, it hasn't even been 2 years yet, all of the things that he's accomplished. And it's sad because there's so many Americans are watching CNN and watching MSNBC. They don't see what he's doing because they won't talk about it. But if you really look at his accomplishments and what he's done, it's amazing that he's gotten that much done in such a short period of time.
Right. And now he's rolling out this Medicare drug initiative, which is really going to change things. Even Bloomberg was finally posted a positive article that says it really has some teeth. So, I think I have been reading articles that these midterms, the early voting is having record turnouts. So, I don't want to digress from the best part of your story, though. We can talk about Trump after.
No. I mean, you're talking about that, the prescription thing. I mean, he enacted changes to Medicare, the 340B program. The savings to seniors are estimated at $320 million in 2018 alone. Have you heard that on CNN? Have you heard that on MSNBC? It's like, if people only knew what he was doing. But that's why I just say, hey, it doesn't matter if you like him. He's doing a great job for our country. And I think people can see the economy. They can see the positive things within the trade deal and other things like that, that I think some of those people that are on the fence are getting it.
And like I said, I live in a blue state. I am constantly. I've been trying to wake people up for years, but now more so than ever. And I say, you wanted something else. You don't want this corruption, and you've been given something else, and you're not seeing it.
It's why I was hoping so badly that he would declassify before the midterms, because once that information got out, and for 2 years, the Russian collusion story was a setup. They set him up to make him look bad, first to not to try to stop him from becoming president, and then once he became president, try to set him up to get him impeached. Once you're some of your regular people out there that maybe don't follow politics on a regular basis, once they find that out, I think they're gonna look at him and go, oh my gosh, what have they done to this guy for 2 years? And I was hoping that would happen before the midterms, but on his interview just last night, he said he's not declassifying until after the midterms, so we won't.
But I use the struck page texts. It's already out there. It's just not being reported on a large scale, kind of.
Right.
I don't think we know the whole of it yet, but you're right. But I was thinking today, like, I should really stock up on groceries before the election and everything, because we don't really know what's going to go. I mean, I think that Red's going to take it, but I don't think that, the cabal, I want to call them, because I don't think it's just Democrats, but I don't think they're going to go down without a fight. And I think we're just, it's heating up now. It's probably going to get worse.
So back to the story.
Okay.
you understand how much I like him as a president, how much I support him as a president.
Right.
I was the only person where I'm from Minnesota, and which was pretty much a blue state, to put a Trump sign in my neighborhood, I don't think we saw another one in the whole city yet. After the election, all these people kind of came out of the woodwork saying, oh yeah, I voted for him too, but I want to put a sign up. But so, if there's one thing that I have that, we all have gifts, I do have the gift of boldness. And I used that when I wore the first Q shirt, and then I used that when I asked him the question. But once I reported on the question, I told, hey, here's what I met him. I talked to him. I asked him about Q. Here's what he said. I'm like, okay, this is finally over for me. I don't have to, I'm done. I'm done. I did my part. I can disappear into the night and not have to be the center of this, because, I'm not looking for Twitter followers. I'm not,
Right.
It's not me. I don't care about any of that kind of stuff. But all of a sudden, then Q posts the post, and I can't.
Okay.
The signifier one, if you can pull that one up.
It's right here, and I have it written down. Really getting shutting my computer off like that really threw me off, but I'm getting back in my groove right now. So it is Q post 2347.
Yeah.
And it's dated on 10/5. That was the day after the rally, or the day of the rally. The day.
I think it was maybe the next morning or something like that, or the next, yeah.
In Rochester, right. and so he posts a link again to your Twitter page and says, important moment in time. The picture will be the signifier. The signifier will force the Q. The Q will be answered. And in 3 parentheses on each side, where we go one, we go, WWG1, WGA. Now, I remember reading this Q post, and like many Q posts, not really understanding it.
Well, for me, it was like, no, I'm done. I'm freaking done. Like now I got to wait for this picture, and there might be something in there. To be honest, and I think I wrote this on the Chans, or maybe it was Twitter when some people asked me about it. The first night that I was there, I felt like Q people were at that rally.
Yep.
And I was standing right next to a few of the people, and I'm not going to say who they were, but there's a few people that are close around Trump that I have a feeling that they're involved with Q.
Yep.
But I'm not going to say who they were. But I didn't see them that night of the rally. They weren't in the back when he was taking pictures. I mean, so, I kind of had the feeling that maybe some of the Q people weren't there that night. And that, you know, when I posted my picture that I, you know, took a picture with Trump that night and asked him the question, the picture that I had was a Q shirt, when I was in the audience with Trump in the background, my neon Q best president ever shirt. And so my thought was, when Q posted this, and you can see that right there, that maybe Q was thinking, oh, he took a picture with President Trump with that shirt on. This is going to force the question.
Okay.
I'm like, I wasn't wearing that shirt. Like, does Q think that I was wearing that shirt when I took the picture? And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a big disappointment now, because I don't think that my picture with President Trump is going to force any questions. But now it made me anxious to get the picture. And what's just funny is a lot of times when there's something important, I give my office address, because we've had stuff stolen out of our mailbox before.
Yep.
And but I thought I gave him my home address for the photo, but I couldn't remember. So every day I'm checking 2 different mailboxes, like a little kid waiting for my first mail order, you know, that I've ever ordered to come
Your
in.
routine decoder ring.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I was looking and waiting and hoping it came in. And one day there was this van with this person sitting in it, like right outside, like right next to our mailbox, just sitting there for a long period of time. And I'm like, well, I'm not leaving until that van leaves, because I hope they're not like here to take my picture or something. But that was just being a little paranoid. But anyway, you know, as the time went on, I kind of just was going about work, and there was a couple of days where I forgot to check the mail, and, you know, just, I didn't know how long it was going to be. I heard people from different places say that when they had taken their picture with the president, that it took anywhere from 2 weeks to 8 weeks to get the photo. So anyway, this picture that you're showing now, or you were just showing, was the, you know, was the day that I got the photo.
Okay.
I brought it down.
Yep.
I brought it down. I opened it up. My daughter was sitting there when I opened it. And I mean, we were just super excited. Like, I have a picture with Donald Trump. I can, you know, for the rest of my life, I'll have a picture of my favorite president ever. And even if for some reason he goes down in a flame, like, he's going to be the most controversial president of our time at the very least. I think he's going to be the best president of my lifetime.
Yep.
And I have a picture with him. So we were super excited about that. There was no note. There was nothing in the package, just the photo. It had the black kind of cover. And, you know, we were just excited, you know. And then there's a part of me that was thinking a little bit about the Q post, but this is exactly what I expected to get, a picture with Trump with nothing else on it. And again, now, you know, that's exactly what I thought was going to happen. And then my daughter decided to pull the picture out from behind, and I did not think there'd be anything there. I wasn't even, you know, she pulled it out and she turned it and she gave me this, oh my God. And she's looking at it and I haven't seen it yet. I thought she was, we like to tease each other. I thought she was totally teasing me. I'm like, whatever. And then she turns and shows it to me. And you know, I had no idea what it was. You know, I mean, at first it looked like there were maybe CCC, you know, like a T.
Yeah.
Backwards, you know, and then I did not remember that in the post there was the 3 brackets with the where we go one, we go all. I didn't remember that part of that post.
Right.
I just remembered the signifier and the question thing.
Even just seeing that, did you get goosebumps?
Oh, well, we were super excited and like going, oh my God, we're sending it, you know, message to, you know, my other kids and, you know, tweeting them or not tweeting them. I mean, sending them private messages and just, this was like, oh my gosh. But that excitement went very quickly to, oh, no.
Right.
Like what? What?
Yeah.
What does it mean? What am I going to do with this?
Right.
What happens if what happens if Q isn't real? What happens if someone around Trump is the Q person, is not being completely honest about the whole thing, even though they're doing it for a good reason, and now I've got to acknowledge what was on the back of my picture. But that puts me in that whole thing. Now, if it comes out that Q is a LARP, if it comes out, maybe it was someone within the administration, but not Trump himself, I'm tied all in with that right now. Before, it was more innocent. I asked a question, I got my picture taken, they pointed at me, but now this is me really maybe verifying the movement, and I didn't feel comfortable with that. I still don't feel comfortable with that. And people are like, well, how do we know you didn't write it? I'm like, well, exactly. I mean, you don't. How do I know that my daughter, when she actually got the mail that day, how do I know that she didn't do it? How do I know that someone from the campaign didn't do it that's maybe part of the Q movement and Trump has no idea? I don't know any of those answers.
Did you make her swear that she didn't do it?
Yeah, I mean, I knew that she didn't, but yeah.
Well, I stopped sharing because as you keep talking, I want to pull up because what the Anons in the Chans also found, I don't know if you've seen it, but they saw from 2014 a handwritten note by Trump that has almost the exact same type of written plus sign. Have you seen that?
Well, actually, I held on to that for a few days.
Yep.
I actually contacted a couple people. I guess I won't say who they are, but I contacted a couple people within the Q community that are well known. One of them has a show on Patriot Soapbox, and I just told them, I said, I have a dilemma. I don't know what to do. I don't want to. I feel like I don't really want to attach myself to this, because if it goes down in flames at some point, or something comes out bad about it, I'm associated with that. But at the same time, how do I hold on to it? And during that time, we kind of, my daughter kind of headed it up, but she was looking at, like, what does Trump's handwriting look like? Could it be actually Trump? And we kind of found some of that same stuff. Yeah. So that picture there with that plus, that to me, I don't know how many people write pluses that way, but that to me was like I went from someone within Q wrote that to, oh my gosh, did Trump write that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's totally different.
And the same marker to, I mean, not the same marker, but people tend to like the same type writing utensils. I know I do. If I find a good pen, I use it, and it's just kind of, you can see. There's some other writing too where they show him writing C's. Yep. And those C's look a lot like the brackets. So, but I mean, it doesn't mean that it's him again. It just could be a coincidence. But I mean, I didn't know. I really didn't know what to do. I was kind of torn by it. I don't know. I mean, people are saying, well, how do we know you didn't write it? I'm like, how do I know someone else didn't write it? All I know is I took a picture. There's something on the back of my picture. And then everyone's like, oh, okay, show us the front and the back at the same time. Like they think that I wrote on another piece of paper. And, I was just like, oh my gosh. And so I played along with it. Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. I saw someone put like, oh, that background that he put the picture on looks suspicious. I was kind of like, well, you kind of grasping at straws on that one, but
yeah, well, they were saying that I put it on the floor or something. It was actually my kitchen counter. So
yeah.
But anyway, so I really struggled with it, and you have to. It's easy from the outside I totally get why people are suspicious of it. I would be too. And so I don't fault them for that. Mm-hmm. But put yourself in my shoes, right, and my family's shoes too. Like, does this put us in any danger? If it's not real, or is everyone in the Q movement going to think that, hey, I'm a jerk and, I push this whole thing? I feel like I'm the advertising wing of Q. or
but
the promotion department.
One Anon did say in the Chans, he was like, look, this guy's already doxxed. If he if he's lying, you know, he has everything to lose and nothing to gain.
Well, you want to know another thought that we had was, okay, let's just say someone that knows about Q movement. I mean, if you're part of the Trump campaign, you probably know about Q. I mean, I can't imagine you wouldn't, right? So let's just say that someone knows me or knows enough, so they wrote that on there, and but it's not really from Q. And all of a sudden, Q comes out in a few days and goes, "Sorry guys, that wasn't me, or that wasn't us." Now I'm gonna look bad then too.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah. So you must have thought long and hard before you put the picture out, huh?
I see in the chat people are saying I need to protect the photo and things like that. It's already in a safe deposit box.
Yeah, then I'll try to find them.
I got some duplicates made of the actual photo from the digital copy that I had just so that I could have the picture, but I put the one where he signed in a safe deposit box. So
did you call a family meeting to discuss it, or was it just you that decided, or?
It was just me. I mean,
yeah,
it was up to me to decide what to do with it.
So what people are saying, or this is pragmatic that I'm looking at now, but people have often wondered what the Q plus means. And he's saying, I believe we now have evidence that a message with Q plus signature indicates the post is President POTUS himself, which I have thought for quite a while, and he brings up, we haven't seen a ton of posts that are Q plus, but we have seen quite a few.
I mean, from following Q since November 2nd of last year, I guess what I always assumed is that when Q was writing Q plus, it meant that at first I just thought it was like several of us Q people are together, but later on I think Q even might have said that it meant that POTUS was with them,
right?
Or maybe that he was actually writing the post. So to me, that says Q isn't Trump. I think a lot of people think that because he signed the back of this that he's Q. I don't think Q is Trump. I think Trump is a part of Q. And but when I first saw that plus, I also was thinking of the plus was George Soros. The 2 pluses were the Rothschilds, and the 3 pluses were Saudi Arabia. Right. So I thought maybe it's like a message that Soros is going down. But I think the longer that I looked into it, and you really look at the Q post about the signifier, it kind of makes sense. I still don't know that it's going to make anyone, make the media ask Trump about it. But is he talking about the question about whether or not Trump is plus? Maybe that's what he meant. I don't know.
So I wanted to ask you in the wake of this. It's a little off base, but and then we could take some questions. You can add whatever you'd like. But do you think? I know you probably got tons of people adding you and things like that. Do you think? Could you see the Twitter censorship happening in front of your eyes as that was happening? Because I'm just curious. Because
I mean, I to be honest with you, I don't pay attention. When I first started Twitter, it was my real name. It was like Trump, at Donald Trump. Mine was at my real name. Mm-hmm. And, I quickly changed it because I, didn't want to have everyone know who I was. But I used my Twitter as more of a vent. People that know me know that I used to post on Facebook all the time, just my political thoughts. And I'm bold, so I'll say them. And for a lot of my family and friends that are liberals, I was offending a lot of them. Right, me too. and my wife was just kind of like, my kids were like, hey, just, maybe don't post that stuff on Facebook, because you're not changing anyone's mind. I go, to me, it's not really trying to convince anyone as much as I'm venting. I'm just like putting out there what I'm thinking. So when I started the Twitter, that's what I was doing. I was just posting stuff that I thought it didn't matter who was reading it. It was just for me a way to vent. And then when I liked things, I usually liked things that I wanted to kind of archive and be able to go back and read later. But I only had I don't even know how I got followers, but I think I had like 300 followers the night of the first picture.
And, I was the same way. And the couple things I want to say about that is I've always thought if I just plant a seed and I wake one person up, But the other thing is Q has pretty much asked us to tweet, and get the word out there. So that's another reason why, I started using my Twitter. I didn't know how to use that. Facebook was my go-to. So,
yeah, I mean, I to be honest, people are like, hey, follow me and I'll follow you. And I'm like,
yeah,
I really only want to, I follow people because they've asked and I'm just, trying to be nice. But really there's maybe 50 to 100 people that I'd like to follow just so I can see what they're saying. And that's all I really want to follow. And I don't really care if anyone follows me or not. So anyone out there, if you want to unfollow me, I don't really care.
right.
Not, I don't plan to use this in any other way. I didn't really plan on, being spotted that first night with a Q shirt. But back to the the photo. I mean, to me, that put me in way further of an uncomfortable position than asking the president in person himself what he thought about it.
Right.
If he would have said it's a fake, it's a fraud, that would have been really, really hard for me to log on and tell people that he said that. But this put me in a really uncomfortable position because now I'm part of Q in a way that not if it does great and amazing things happen, but more that if it doesn't work out or we find out somehow Q isn't being honest with us, I'm now tied into that, and that's not what I wanted.
I think at the end of the day, though, Q has brought so much research and information to us anyway that it's not a bad thing. But for you personally, I can understand. Like I told you that and the YouTube chatters know I get nervous to come on here, and for you, you're taking a huge risk. Do you feel like you did the right thing?
I guess we'll find out in the future. I guess we'll find out.
The right thing. Because
Yeah,
I saw that you posted. I think it was you that said, "Well, what am I supposed to do if I don't say anything?" And I should have. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's part of it too, right? I mean, eventually someone is going to say, "Hey, did you get the picture yet? Did you get the picture yet?"
Right.
And I was getting a lot of messages like that. We're waiting. We're waiting. We're eager as you are. Did you get the picture yet? So I felt like, what am I going to do? Am I going to say, "Yep, I got it. Here it is," and not talk about the back? I just, if I ever get the chance to find out who Q Team is, I'm going to say, why did you put me in that position? Because
you're the chosen one. I'm just looking at this picture. I'm sure you can see he is totally pointing directly right at you.
Yeah.
So it's really amazing, this journey you've been on. It must be like I know just with the whole Great Awakening and the whole thing that's gone on with Q, for me, it's just been excitement. My blood I feel hope. That's what hope feels like, that I haven't felt in probably my whole life when it comes to the world around me. So are you feeling the same way?
I am feeling the same way. I think that someone, whether it was Trump or someone around him, kind of mastermind this idea. Hey, the left media is owned by the news media is owned by the left, which was the smartest thing they ever did. I mean, for the left to go out and buy the media, it makes them look smarter than the right. Some of these guys like the Koch brothers and stuff, they should have bought news outlets if they really wanted to influence elections. But so here they are, and they know that they're going to be fighting the left, and they come up with this idea: hey, let's go to the internet and not Facebook or Twitter or whatever. Let's go to the kind of the underbelly of the internet where everyone can be anonymous, and let's just kind of fill them in. Hey, we can't give them anything that is classified, but we can sure lead them and let them know what's going on and what's coming, and kind of let that movement grow. And because you can,
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think that I've said it before, but there was a lot of people doing that stuff anyway. There was a lot of people already calling out the mainstream media, and there was a lot of people researching the corruption themselves. And it brought everybody together under an umbrella kind of type thing. It's genius, really.
But now we have a place to go to get information about maybe what's coming. And I have, now that it's been a year, I know other Q followers, and I talk to different people, and I have friends out there. Hey, you just got to trust the plan. They've been laying this out for years. Like, it's all going to work out. And I'm not there. I feel like the deep state is deeply rooted. It's, way more evil and corrupt than we think. And I think it's a constant battle. I think he wanted to declassify this. And I think Rod Rosenstein and Mueller basically came to him and, someone, advised him that, okay, wait till after the midterms, or else it's going to look like you're obstructing justice, or you're trying to affect the election. I just don't think it's as simple as, I think he wanted to release it before midterm. So I don't always know that the plan goes exactly, and this is just my opinion, exactly as planned. I think it's a battle. It's a fight.
I agree. And I think if you watch his rallies, you can tell that my people said I should tone it down. So he does have people in his ear all the time. But yeah. I do think at the end of the day, I'm sure that the cabal can outlive one administration. It's hopefully enough to just wake people. If people are awake and vigilant, things can change. One of the YouTube chatters wants to know if you know about Joseph Fusca at all, and the whole JFK thing, and what you think about that. JFK Jr. I apologize.
Yeah, you know what? Some of those pictures are like, oh wow, he does kind of look like him. But you know what? To me, it's there's things that go on in 8chan and stuff that are kind of added to Q, which I don't think Q really added them. And so I just, I'm not.
Oh, Vincent.
It's interesting, but I don't think it's real.
Okay. They wanted to know what your favorite Q post. It's Vincent. Sorry, guys. I think I said Joseph. What your favorite Q post is? Do you have one off the top of your head?
My favorite Q post. Wow, that's a tough
1621, maybe?
No, none of them with me. No. I don't know.
Yeah, there's so many.
There are so many. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's the excitement of what is he going to say next? What's going to happen next?
No, in these days of darkness, that's one thing I wanted to ask you about too. A lot of speculation that these days of darkness are due to the Hatch Act. Is that what your thoughts on that?
I don't know if it's from the Hatch Act or not. Him not being able to declassify, it involves Horowitz, and that might be in violation of the Hatch Act. But I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's so hard. It's just I feel like a lot of us kind of got hooked on Q, and now we're kind of fumbling along. But there's plenty of roads that Q has led us down that we can continue the work, and especially with the elections, we should be focusing, I guess, on making sure that people are getting out to vote and hooking people up. Right?
I think there's things out there that Q could comment on right now, but I think the big stuff, the declassification of the FISA, of Bruce Orr's 302s, we've seen a lot of the text messages, but we haven't seen them unredacted. We haven't seen what's being covered up. When all of that stuff comes out, I don't know how the left media is gonna spin it, but once that's out there, that changes the game. And so I feel like, Q's silence is all right. We're not releasing this until after the elections. They're going dark because they're really, it's kind of like it's on hold until after the election is over with.
Yeah, I was thinking today when I was driving, it's like, all right, what if the elections happen? It goes red, like I have a gut instinct that it's going to, and then instantly we start seeing things happen. Boom, the declass. Boom, the arrests. You know what I mean? And it really starts rolling. You know, the troops. It's just there's a lot of balls up in the air right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I look when Huber came out with his mid-year investigation of, you know, Hillary's email. If you and I'm one of those crazy people, right? I don't want to hear what Fox is saying. I don't want to hear what CNN is saying.
Right.
I read the whole 402 FISA, you know, myself. I read all 300, 400 pages of it. and you know, I mean, it's funny because it was released to the public and the news media at the same time, but within 5 minutes, they already had their opinions on what was in it.
Right.
I'm like, how can you know? You know, I'm sure they had a lot of people reading, but I just wanted to read it myself. But, you know,
yeah. It's just crazy that we're supposed to believe that really goes on. You know what I mean? It's just, it brings me back to when Q says you're watching a movie. It almost seems like we are. And that's impressive that you read all that.
I was disappointed, though, that Huber was so soft on Hillary. I mean, it was so obvious that they did not really investigate her, that they let her off the hook, that they, you know, that they took all of her, you know, people and you know, basically gave them a pass. You know, just no FBI investigation is normally run like that. And the only thing that I could come up with is they were like, do we get Clinton on this because people are really sick and tired of this, or there's something bigger coming? But if that's how Huber is going to treat some of the other stuff that's coming, you know, that makes me a little nervous that they were so easy on her.
The one thing, though, I think there was going to be 3 parts of I think it was Horowitz's report that was coming out. And one, I think they're investigating the Clinton Foundation. So maybe they can't, you know, if there's so many investigations of her going on at one time, they can't move ahead with one right now. I don't know. She is guilty of sin, and we all know it, you know, and it's.
Well, there's little things that, you know, we know about that a lot of people don't know about, like the 2 plane loads of documents that were picked up in Arkansas, you know, where the investigation of her foundation was, and flown back, you know, flown back to the East Coast. I mean, there's probably a lot of stuff that's going on, but I don't want them to get off the hook.
And the Wiener laptop, you know. Yeah,
exactly.
So I'm just seeing if YouTube has any other questions. I do have just a speculative question for you.
Yep.
Do you think Q's coming back?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think he's coming back after the election. I've heard that the darkness ends on the 8th, but you know, I think that he'll come back after the election is over with.
I agree. One of the YouTubers would like to know when you first woke up and what the process was, or maybe you've always been awake.
I mean, I think because I was such a hardcore Trump person, you know, my daughter actually, I don't know what she was doing on the channels before this, but she's the one that found it, and she found it right away and told me about it. And it was on November 2nd was the day that I said, all right, let me see this and I'll read it. And I mean, I was so skeptical. I'm like, this is a bunch of BS, but it's kind of interesting, you know.
Yeah.
But I couldn't navigate I couldn't navigate. I was on 4chan back then. I couldn't figure out how to find the posts.
Takes a while.
So what I started doing is I started using Twitter to follow people that were posting the posts when they came out, because I could never find them on 4chan. And then I retweeted them, and then I think that's how people started following me, because they were also looking for the same posts. But you know, then it moved over to 8chan. I finally figured it out, and I, you know, can navigate it fine now. But in the beginning, it was like no idea.
Yeah, it's tough. It is. So have you like 9/11? Did you always like? Did you do you think that was an inside job, or do you think, you know? Because that's what woke me up. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how old I was.
My kids are the conspiracy theorists in my house.
Okay.
And I'm more of the skeptic. But they're the ones that showed me a lot of the 9/11 stuff. I mean, the Pentagon getting hit.
Yeah.
Sure doesn't look like a plane.
Yeah.
That third building that went down, and that looks like a demolition to me.
Right, and the put options that day. I mean,
Yeah.
that was a big thing for me. It's like, okay, everybody.
I mean, I hope that Trump clears things out, puts people in jail, goes back in time, like to 9/11, and maybe all the way back to JFK, and tells us some things that gives us some truth. And then I hope that he goes in and once all that truth is out there, no one's going to want corruption ever again. That would be the time to say term limits for senators and representatives, and make it so that it's really hard for us to have corruption again. That's my hope.
Yeah, I think that's all of our hope. And for me, it wasn't like the day 9/11 happened. It was years later, because the country was, I think, never more united than it was on the day of, and in the couple days following, in my personal opinion. But it wasn't until stuff later, the whole investigation started going on, the families were disgruntled. It was just like, all right, what's going on here? Sounding a little bit like the Warren Commission. So, all right. So do you have, I know that everybody's been on you about wanting to know what happened. And I'm so thankful that you did, you came on and spoke about it. Is there anything that you want to add?
Well, there's two. I have a thought.
Yep.
And that is, I think some people are just destined to do things.
Yeah.
That it's in their future.
Yep.
And I love Ronald Reagan. And that message or that letter or whatever, or maybe I don't remember how it was documented, but when he met Trump and shook his hand, I don't have his exact quote, but it was something like, I felt, this is Reagan talking, I felt like I was meeting the president that day.
Yeah.
And just, things like that tell me that this was all destiny. And so things like that, make me excited, for him as our president. But, I guess the only message that I would say is it doesn't, I know that we all want to believe that President Trump is part of Q, and they've been, they're leading us all down that path, and that's what I think. Obviously we've got a lot of evidence to believe that, but in the end, don't get hung up on that, because I don't think it matters. Right. Because whoever's giving us this information is helping us, is uniting us, is wanting us to all take back our country and be patriotic, and we want, an America that we grew up in, God bless America, and I think that's what's most important here. So, everyone that's out there, I know that I've had voting days before where I had a busy day, I was planning on voting, and it's like really hard to get to the polls, and am I going to get there late? And, maybe I won't go. It's like, nobody can do that this time. We all have to make sure that we get there. If we know anyone that doesn't have a ride, or maybe is on the fence about voting, but if they go, they vote for, vote Republican, you got to encourage them to go, drive over and pick them up, buy them a coffee, take them. Right. But this midterm election is probably the biggest midterm election of our lifetime.
I couldn't agree more. And one thing I want to say to you today, when you agreed this morning, I didn't see your tweet back to me till this morning, and I was so nervous. And I'm driving, and I was just thinking in my head, what am I going to ask you? And I was thinking, it must be hard for him. He's put in this position to come out. He doesn't really want to be out here. And I was thinking, land of the free, home of the brave. That's what being brave is about. And it's time for us to be brave. I don't know who is telling us in these blue states that we live in that we are not entitled to our opinion, but it really isn't right. I want you to know that you're getting loads and loads of support from the chat. They all want you to know that you're not alone. And they did ask as well, if you're listening to the Patriot Soapbox now that you found us.
You know what? I have my own business.
Yeah, he's the
and
guy.
I've got a big family, and
Yeah.
I have tuned in, and sometimes I'm interested in what they're talking about, and sometimes they're not. I'm a little ADD. I literally like to do my own research.
Yeah,
I don't like to be told, what, and even with the news and stuff. Like I'll watch, Hannity and stuff sometimes, or the Ingerman angle or some stuff like that. But I really rather dig myself because I just don't feel like I can trust anyone that's out there. But I mean, it's interesting. Sometimes in my office at night, I'll turn it on and listen to it while I'm working. But I'm not listening all the time.
Yeah, I am one too that likes to do my own research, and I find that if when I was on before we had the format, I was often on air a lot more than I am now, and I just wasn't having the time to dig myself, anymore. So I've been doing it for years. It's like my hobby. Someone says that I love to research, but it is what, and there's so much information out there. So, one last question. I keep coming up with questions, but how's Minnesota looking to you right now?
I mean, we were like the only blue state when Reagan won. I mean, there's a lot of people here that I don't know. I mean, we're a blue state, but you have to remember that Minnesotans are kind of strange. I mean, we elected a former, World Wrestler Federation as a governor.
He wasn't bad either, right?
So I mean, I think they're willing to switch. If it's helping America, they're way more middle Democrats than they're not really progressive here. At least not the majority of them. So I would say they're more like John F. Kennedy type Democrats that just never changed.
Yeah.
Which I think John F. Kennedy today would be a Republican based on his platform, but
it's politics that have changed.
Yeah. Is there any questions that any of the people in the chat have?
I'm watching. They're saying Minnesota is waking up. They have been. It's a lot of support for you. They're asking about a Q post. Let me see. James asks, thought about Q post 2308 signed by Q Plus, Reagan's peace through strength post. So I can see if I can find that. 2308.
I think that I don't know about this. Amy Klobuchar she really is a nice lady. Yeah. And I think she's going to win without any problem. Karen Housley, I think she's got a shot. But like I said, it is a more Democratic state. But there are races within the Minnesota that I think are going to go red. Stauber up in northern Minnesota, his brother was the women's Olympic hockey coach, and he is. I think he's doing really well up there. I mean, I'm from Minnesota. I used to drive through Duluth, and you'd see all these taconite and iron ore ships, and it was kind of like some of those docks and stuff kind of looked like a ghost town because Minnesota mining wasn't really doing anything. Well, you have to keep in mind now that we're making steel again, that those mines are picking up again. Well, the last time when I went to that Duluth rally, it was like a completely different setup. There was just mounds and mounds of taconite and iron ore and ships everywhere. I'm like, I don't remember seeing it that way for 15 years. So if you're up in northern Minnesota and you're seeing those jobs, and those jobs are creating other jobs, I just got to believe that's going to turn the top of the state anyway, Red.
I think at the end of the day, Americans just want to have a good life, have a good paycheck, take care of their families, and not have the government up in their business. I think that's what most people want, and I think that a lot of times, it's people with ulterior motives that are really pushing the extremist views. They wanted to know about Ellison, what your thoughts are.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
he can't. He literally can't win. There's just no way.
No.
um, I don't know how to say this without sounding bad, but I just I have a hard time with people supporting Islam in a country that was founded on Christianity, and I'm a Christian. I don't have any problem with people that follow that faith,
Right.
but I have a problem with the faith, with the religion itself,
The practices.
So,
right.
yeah. So if there's someone out there and they are a Muslim, I don't have anything against people. I have some things against the religion, and that might sound not right, but I just, as a person, I just don't have a good feeling about him either. And if what came out about him with his past girlfriend came out about a Republican, there's no way they win.
Yeah. I go with my gut feelings a lot, but I really think that these midterms are gonna be red. I was reading the other day, they're trying to put the slant on it. It was a Georgia post. It was a Georgia newspaper, and they were basically saying that it was more Republicans turning out. But I don't think that's true. I have a feeling that it's not happening. What do you think?
I saw a question in there that I get asked all the time.
Okay. How do you get
so I'm just gonna answer it. Someone asked, "How do you get VIP tickets?"
Yeah.
And it's just like the rest of life. You have to know somebody, and I was fortunate that I do know somebody. But right now, with the rallies that are going around, Trump is coming to an area, maybe an area near you, and he's coming there to support a senator or some U.S. representatives, and literally call up those offices. Don't call the presidents. Try to call Washington. You're not going to get any VIPs. But if you call those local campaigns, they want to take your phone call. And what I would suggest is you just say, "Hey, I am a loyal supporter of Trump and U.S. Representative whoever or Senator so-and-so. If you can afford it, offer to make a contribution and tell them that you'd really would like to get VIP tickets to the event." I will tell you, though, that if you want to see him and you want to get good seats, the VIP section is usually behind him. And yeah, you might be on camera or you might be seen there, but the whole time he's talking, he's not facing you. I think it's much better to watch if you just want to take it all in and see the president. My recommendation is don't worry about getting VIP. Get there early in the morning. If you really want to be aggressive, stay overnight. Bring a cheap folding chair. Sit there all day. Bring some snacks, some food. Hang out with everyone. When it gets close to going in, put your folding chair somewhere. It may not be there when you come out because you're standing all day long. And get in there early. And that's what I would recommend. But if you just want the VIP badge because it looks cool or whatever, but the seats aren't that great. They're usually behind them.
Little old school tailgating, huh?
Yeah. It's actually fun.
So you've been to several rallies now. Have you seen the size of the crowds growing exponentially?
There's the first rally that I went to. I went with my son, and he was actually the first Trump supporter in our family. And so I went out there. I wanted him to, for a young guy to be involved with politics and just, so I just thought, hey, I'm going to support him. We're going to go out there. We're going to go to this rally. And we literally, this was in Wisconsin in a college town. And we had people throwing stuff. We had people saying, F you, just really negative, bad. And the people on the Trump side were singing the national anthem back. They were singing God Bless America back. There was nothing bad that was coming from the people on the Trump side, but the people that were there protesting were just so hateful. And it really made me feel like I'm on the right side of the fence here. But there's something going on. There's a movement There's
Great
this,
awakening.
yep, and it's not just saying it. I mean, there's a feeling, and there's a lot of people out there that feel it, and there's a lot of people out there that feel it that don't know anything about Q.
Yeah.
But they're all involved and they're all excited about it, and it's growing. And as long as he keeps delivering, as long as he really is draining the swamp and taking care of America, and that's all he wants to do. I mean, he has an ego, and if you understand anyone with an ego, he wants to end his presidency, and he wants everyone to think he did a great job. That's really, really important to him.
Right.
So what do you think he's going to try to do? He's going to try to do a really good job.
And he's doing an excellent job. All the numbers say it. I mean, you can't, those don't lie.
Yeah.
And if they could make them lie in any possible way, they would be. But he's just doing a great, great job, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't want to keep you all night. I know it's probably getting late. I so appreciate you coming on, and you were my first interview. I don't know if you know that.
No, you did a great job.
Thanks. And if you have anything else you want to add or anything at all, you can feel free to say it right now.
Just go vote.
Yeah.
Go vote. Do your part. But there's someone out there that everyone probably knows that might need a little nudging or a ride or whatever.
Right.
If you think, I mean, some of the posts on my Twitter page that Q acknowledged, I have 700, 800,000 people that have seen those posts. That means there's 800,000 people out there. If those people could all just find one person that was on the fence or wasn't sure if they had the time to vote and make sure that person goes out and vote, that could be huge, but just at least that all of us get out and vote.
Right. And absolutely don't forget the elderly. I'm going to call my aunt. She's 90 and see if she needs a ride that day. Although I'm like, what if she doesn't want to vote red? But I'll talk her into it. All right. Well, thank you, VIPAnon. It was my great honor to interview you. And if you ever want to come back on the soapbox, you always have an open invitation. I hope you know that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm finally done. I'm crossing my fingers. I don't think I'm done now. I don't know what else I can do.
Well, the Lord might have plans for you, but we'll see. To be continued.
Yeah, hopefully not.
I hear you. All right. Well, thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Yeah. One last thing. Just God bless all the patriots out there that are praying for our government and praying for our country, and all of that prayer means a lot too. So God bless all of you out there, and thank you for, I guess, not hating on me or thinking that I'm doing this for fame, because I'm not.
No, they're all loving you. If you can see it, you can see it out there. So,
but I'm just one of you. That's all I am. I just wore a Q T-shirt one night and I got kind of wrapped up in it, but I think I'm done finally.
Well, you know what? I think you brought yet another fantastic Q proof to the book of Q proofs that we are now formulating. So it's a great thing. It's a gift.
Well, thanks for having me on. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.